That's what the situation was here.
Right. Well, I'm saying in this case, pass interference.
Right.
So
right.
if you want to challenge, so add that. Put pass interference into the mix, and make the challenges. Take it from 2 to 3, so that allows that coach or the opportunity. I don't think you should be able to challenge every single one of them, but let them decide. And if the referees want to then take it themselves to look at something or to talk about something, that's fine. Everybody wants it right. It's just that some of the other aspects of obviously it was the call. Everybody gets that.
It was the no call. They missed it, so you should be able to challenge something like that. And right. I agree with you. I think that's what you're trying to say. You should be able. They should add the fact that if there's something so egregious, you can say the ref missed this. Strangely, the ref was staring right at it too. I don't know if he was thinking about where he's going for dinner or what he was doing the next day, but the guy was staring right at the thing.
Well, the odd thing too, and this has been other than last year. Last year was the first year I remember this distinctly. Why is it that there are certain rules that are during the regular season, and then in the postseason they let them play? They let them play more. So I don't care which way you want to go. Just go one way.
Absolutely. And I think there's different rules for different receivers. You see Gronk every single time. Well, almost every time he extends his 4-foot arm when the ball's about 10 feet from him, and he gets the separation and catches it. Michael Crabtree this year, if he breathed on the defender, he was getting an offensive pass interference call.
Right.
So I think they really need to fix it. I think an opportunity to have less flags too is if you get jammed by the receiver, how Kelsey runs up into a linebacker, jams the hell out of him and breaks into a route, allow the defender to grab him for a second. Or if you push off as a receiver, allow the defender just to grab you for a second. Because just otherwise you're just calling it and not calling it for people, and there's way too many pass interference calls in general. But I absolutely agree. Allow it to challenge an extra one, or you have an eye in the sky ref that's on the TV monitors, just as us watching the games, that can sometimes step in for these huge type of moments.
Yeah. And the other thing I always go back to, though, and this is a personal thing, is that if New Orleans doesn't kick 2 field goals the first 2 times they have the ball, it's not an issue.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's some very bad game management at the end. And it's so funny how we spot that pretty easily, me and you watching football our whole lives. Yet some of these coaches, even in the professional levels, not managing the game properly. And you're wondering if it's just they're a victim of the moment or something. But, why the hell would you throw the ball on first down there? It blows my mind. And so don't get me wrong. The Saints didn't do themselves any favors here, when it came to it. And the Rams had a lot of momentum going their way. But the egregious part is that there's a 96% chance that the wrong team's in the right. Super Bowl. But as sports bettors, we don't care because we still got lines and we're still going to bet some parts of this game, aren't we, Doug?
Absolutely. No, and it's just, and the bad calls happen and bad plays happen by the players too.
Absolutely.
So it is part of the game.
So what were you right about this year? We talked before the season. I'd be curious what you were wrong about and what you were right about coming into the year.
Sure. I remember our, let's say, preseason discussions and in terms of teams that in this case, for the most part, I didn't like. That's what it ended up being. I didn't like the 49ers. That was correct. I thought the Eagles would come back. That was correct. I thought Atlanta last year at 10-6, making the playoffs, I thought they would regress. One thing, living where we do, the Arizona Cardinals, that was easy. And even John Gruden, that looked like a disaster waiting to happen, and it was. So that played out. So to that end, those were all good. The ones that I missed, and one of the ones that I know that you liked, was the New Orleans Saints. I was off on them. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I thought they would be better. I did not think the Bears were ready yet to be an improved team. Obviously, that was wrong. And I was way off on Patrick Mahomes. I didn't think he was ready yet.
Yeah, I think we were both off on Indy as well. I don't know how.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, we nailed Tampa Bay too. I think we both nailed Tampa Bay. Yeah, I was wrong about them. Absolutely. The Bears, I was one of them I was right about. And yes, the Saints I was right about. But good thing for me, I hedged those tickets going into the playoffs. You know, you had 100 to 1 on the Bears and 19 to 1 on the Saints. So I was able to at least cash in a little bit, and I think that's what people need to do. Even though you think the Saints are the best team, and on many people's power ratings, they are the best team, but that doesn't mean they can't lose one game out of one game. It's just how tournaments are. So always be prepared to hedge to get your money back. I think we were both right about the Giants too. They had a crazy high season win total because of Saquon Barkley, I believe. I think it was like 7 or 8. I hit that under like 2 times. So
okay. Yeah. I remember that now that you say that. Yes, yeah. Manning. I mean, it's at the end of the line.
Yes,
I mean, plain and simple.
Absolutely. Who did get comeback player of the year? Was it Luck, or is that not out yet?
I don't think it's out yet, but I think they could just close the deal.
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious as to what they did, and it'd be interesting. The other part of that I find fascinating is that Frank Reich was their second or third choice as far as coach, and gosh, how did that work out?
Oh my God, yeah, absolutely. Frank Reich, he worked out great. Terrible start in that KC game, of course, and I don't know what happened there. A lot of people were on the Colts. I guess that's a scary thing. Everyone's
right.
on the Colts. You're like, wait a second, maybe I'm on the wrong side here. But I was on him too, and Frank Reich proved to be a fantastic coach. And you wonder what this team's going to do next year. Luck looks skinnier, rejuvenated, throwing dimes. They got a lot of. I love Leonard. How about that draft pick, man? Darius Leonard. Holy cow, is that linebacker a beast, man?
Yeah, there's so much better on both sides of the ball on the lines than too, and they're young, so that's the best part. So there's a lot of upside there with everything that what they have to do. And to your point though about Indianapolis, I think the same thing would happen to Indianapolis as what happened to the Chargers, and a lot of people missed on that too. And it was I was not on the Chargers against New England, but I was on Indy. But playing 3 straight road games, that's tough.
Oh,
and
yeah.
especially when you come into the third one happens to be in the playoffs. Not that teams haven't won. The Packers, for example, I think it was 2010, won 3 straight games and ended up winning the Super Bowl. But that's pretty rare.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And it's also rare that 2 of those draft picks became in the Pro Bowl. First time since 1965, Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard were both selected to the Pro Bowl. Do you remember who it was in 65?
Well, I'm going to go with Gale Sayers and Dick Butkus.
You nailed it, buddy. Look at you. I hope I didn't date you there, Doug.
No, I remember reading about it.
Yeah. I was wondering if you knew that. Yeah, absolutely. It was actually out there in a couple different sites, but me being a Bears fan, I had to say that. I hope you understand.
Oh, of course, yes. I read some of your stuff, and I just keep my mouth shut for the most part. I just let you go off on your way.
I appreciate that, man. Well, cool. Let's move into the early Super Bowl lines and the totals out there. Do you have any initial thoughts on the lines? You don't have to give anything away, obviously, but what's your thought about where this thing came out and where it's at?
Well, it's always interesting to me, and this always gets kind of just swept under the carpet, and I don't know why. Maybe because it isn't that relevant. But I mean, the initial release was the Rams -1 by almost every sports book that comes out with a line and just doesn't react to the marketplace. And and then by Sunday night, after that happened, later that night, it was already New England -1. So a 2-point flip, and of course a flip of a team, plus then the fact of going further, now up to 2.5. And at the same time, the total went from 59 on the initial release down to 57.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it got hit under pretty quick, didn't it?
Yes. Yep.
And I think I think that is, well, no, I think that is just because I think there's people that auto bet those unders when they come out too. There's some numbers guys, just that bet NFL unders if they're over 53 or something. I think there's a lot of that. And I also thought there's value there. It was one of my plays personally, but a lot of the people are remembering those 38 points that happened in the fourth quarter in the Patriots-Chiefs game, and that very well could happen again, right? But I think if you start with a high total, you have a lot of options if this thing's trending under, coming into the next half. You could middle, you can hedge, you can let it ride. So personally, I think that, the total is initially a bit too high, and so I personally think there was some value on the under.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the other thing that was overlooked, and it was overlooked now because of all the points that New England and Kansas City scored in the fourth quarter, that that took it from what seemed to be it was looking like a pretty good under at that point, and of course the other game was under. And the thing that's different, and in some cases I feel it was missed, is how the two teams that are participating in the Super Bowl have changed how they played. And what I mean by that is that New England, they lost to Pittsburgh early December, I believe it was, and they shifted gears. And then the Rams lost to the Bears in Philadelphia. And then they shifted gears. And what I mean by shifted gears is that, obviously they had strong passing attacks, but what they realized is that to win later in the season, and this isn't news, but you have to be more balanced. You have to be able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. And each of these teams' last 4 games, they have run the ball for almost 40 carries per game. So what does that do? That makes it easier for Brady and for Goff now to mix in play action. They can take more shots because now the linebackers have been drawn up. They can throw over their heads, and all of a sudden it opens up the passing game more. And you have a better balanced offense, which allows you to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's and they want to establish it first early in the game.
Yes, get it going right from the start. And I mean, it amazed me. And I was so impressed by Bill Belichick. I mean, can you not be impressed with him?
Right.
I mean, and they were talking about it quite a bit. I like the idea that they were using plays, running plays that were like from the 70s and 80s.
Oh, I know.
By formation, and then by and then also by design in terms of how certain players move. Now they add a slightly modern touch to with motion, but essentially that's what those plays were, and they kept referring to that. And I just thought that was pretty cool. That I mean, he's 60 some years old, so he's got a pretty vast knowledge of plays to go back to, but to have the courage and the discipline and the smarts to do that, man, that's impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Belichick has to be the best coach of all time. If you're going to say Brady is the best quarterback of all time, the perfect marriage there. And somehow the guy just knows how to make them not worry until November, and then he starts coaching. He starts, really motivating his team, no matter what players he has, the Patriot way. There's something to that, and I think that's why I guess guys like me have kind of learned that I'm not such a fan of those big diva receivers that get all the money and the running backs and stuff like that. I'm a system guy, and it's kind of made me a system guy watching greatness like the New England Patriots. So
yeah,
absolutely, man. Totally agree with you. Do you have any thoughts on the side here? I think what you're saying. First of all, the Rams should have been favored by 1 or pick them at worst. Then you see the lines adjust right away, knowing Patriot money's going to come in, right? So it's like -1.5 to -2. The public's going to be on the Patriots, so that they're worried about balancing the books. And then do you see some value on the Rams side then?
Without a doubt. I mean, with the Rams, I mean, I look at these teams. If I just look at the teams from a personnel standpoint, the Rams have the better team. I am of the opinion, and I know I could be just ruthlessly criticized for saying this, but that's okay, is that of the previous teams that Belichick and Brady have taken to the Super Bowl, I believe this is the weakest team that they have ever taken there. Now, I'm talking about from a personnel standpoint. It is amazing this team is there because they don't have big play receivers like they've had in the past, so the deep ball to be able to do that. They're having, they don't have let's just call it a key running back, maybe that they've depended on, so that, have a nice mixture. Their offensive line has come together, and then when you go on defense, start naming me the all pros on defense. Good luck. They're not there.